The great chamber of the Galactic Council was the largest room had ever seen. It stretched so far that the walls disappeared into shadows. Floating platforms held representatives from 12 different species, each one looking down at the small human woman standing alone in the center. Kept her back straight and her face calm. She had practiced this moment 1,000 times. She was the first human ambassador to stand in this chamber, and she knew that every eye was watching her. Some of those eyes were curious. Most were hostile. The prelate floated forward on his platform. His name was, and his purple skin glowed softly in the dim light. He was tall and thin, with 4 arms that moved like snakes when he spoke. The had ruled the council for 3,000 years. They did not like newcomers. "Human ambassador," said. His voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. "You stand before the Galactic Council to answer for your species." Did not flinch. "I am honored to be here, prelate. Earth sends its greetings to all member species." A sound rippled through the chamber. It took a moment to realize it was laughter. The aliens were laughing at her. "Greetings," repeated. "How touching. Tell me, Ambassador, do you know why you were summoned here today?" "I was told there were concerns about human expansion," said. "Concerns?" 4 arms spread wide. "In 50 years, your species has colonized 47 worlds. You have built ships that travel faster than any we have seen. You have weapons that make even the nervous." He pointed one long finger at a platform where massive, armored creatures sat in silence. They were the warriors of the galaxy. They had conquered 100 worlds before joining the council. "This is not concern, Ambassador. This is fear." The chamber went silent, felt the weight of 1,000 stares pressing down on her. "Humanity has never attacked any council species," she said. "We have traded peacefully. We have shared technology. We have asked for nothing but friendship." "And that," a new voice said, "is exactly what frightens us." Commander moved her platform closer. She was a species that looked almost human except for their silver skin and eyes that held no pupils. They were known for their intelligence and their cruelty. "A species that grows this fast and asks for nothing," continued. "A species that smiles while it builds weapons. A species that speaks of peace while it prepares for war. We have seen this before, Ambassador. We know what comes next." "What comes next," said carefully, "is whatever humanity chooses. We are not your enemies." "Not yet," agreed. "That is why we have called you here today, to make sure you never become our enemies." Raised his hand. The chamber fell into complete silence. "The Galactic Council has discussed the human problem for many cycles," he announced. "We have reviewed your history. We have studied your wars. We have watched how quickly you spread across the stars." He paused. "We have reached a decision." His heart beat faster, but her face remained calm. "I am listening. Humanity will surrender all military vessels to Council control. Your colonized worlds will accept Council governors. Your Earth will pay tribute to the Council treasury. Your expansion will stop immediately and permanently." The words hit like physical blows. She had expected demands. She had expected restrictions. She had not expected this. "You are asking us to give up our freedom," she said. "We are not asking," replied. "This is not a negotiation, Ambassador. This is an ultimatum. Accept these terms or the combined fleets of the Council will reduce your species to dust." For a long moment said nothing. She thought about Earth. She thought about the colonies. She thought about the children who had grown up on distant worlds, looking at alien stars and calling them home. Then she thought about her grandmother, who had survived a war that killed millions. Her grandmother used to say that freedom was not something others gave you. Freedom was something you took and held with both hands, no matter the cost. Looked up at Prelate. She looked at Commander. She looked at all the faces watching her from the floating platforms. And she laughed. The sound echoed through the chamber. It was not a nervous laugh or a frightened laugh. It was the laugh of someone who had heard a very good joke. The alien stared at her in shock. No one had ever laughed in the council chamber before. "Ambassador," said, his voice dangerous, "do you find our terms amusing?" "I find them impossible," said. Her voice was still light, almost cheerful. "Prelate, I have studied your history too. I know how the council was formed. I know about the wars you fought before you learned to work together." She smiled. "Do you know what I noticed? Every species that joined your council did so by choice. They were not conquered. They were not threatened. They chose to join because they saw the benefit." "That was different," snapped. "Those species earned their place. And humanity has not," tilted her head. "We have done nothing wrong. We have broken no laws. We have threatened no one. You fear us simply because we exist, because we grow, because we are different." She shook her head. "That is not justice. That is cowardice." The chamber erupted in angry voices. Aliens shouted from their platforms. Some demanded that be arrested. Others called for war to begin immediately. Raised his hand again. The noise stopped. "You are brave, human," he said. "But bravery without power is just foolishness. Your species is young. Your fleet is small. You cannot fight the entire galaxy." Reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device. It was shaped like a disc, no bigger than her palm. She pressed a button on its surface. "This is Ambassador," she said. "Authorization code 773. Transmit my words to all human vessels and colonies. Transmit to all council frequencies. Let everyone hear." Leaned forward. "What are you doing?" "I am giving you our answer," said. She looked directly at the prelate. "The people of Earth and all human colonies refuse your terms. We will not surrender our ships. We will not accept your governors. We will not pay tribute. We will not stop growing." "Then you choose death," said. "No," replied. "We choose freedom, and we will fight for it." She lowered the device. "Humanity has a message for the Galactic Council. Come and take what you want if you can. But know this, humans do not surrender. We never have. We never will." She turned and walked toward the chamber doors. Her footsteps echoed in the stunned silence. "You cannot leave," called after her. "We have not dismissed you." Stopped at the doors. She looked back over her shoulder. "I have heard your terms," she said. "I have given our answer. There is nothing more to discuss." She smiled one last time. "I suggest you prepare your fleets, prelate. You are going to need them." The doors slid open, walked through them and did not look back. Behind her, the Galactic Council chamber exploded into chaos. Voices shouted over each other. Platforms crashed together as representatives tried to speak. Some called for immediate attack. Others demanded caution. Prelate stood in the center of it all, his 4 arms hanging at his sides. He had ruled the council for 200 years. He had faced rebellions and wars and disasters of every kind. But he had never seen anything like this human woman. He had never seen anyone stand alone against the entire galaxy and laugh. For the first time in his very long life, felt something he did not recognize. It took him several moments to understand what it was. It was doubt. Far away, on a small ship orbiting a distant moon, Admiral listened to his transmission. He was an older man with gray hair and a face marked by years of service. He had commanded Earth's defense forces for 2 decades. He had always known this day would come. He pressed a button on his console. "All commands," he said. "This is Admiral. Begin Operation Silent Thunder. Activate all reserve units. Recall all personnel to battle stations." He paused and looked out the window at the stars. "The Council has made their choice. Now we make ours." Across the galaxy, human ships began to move. Hidden bases came online. Secret weapons powered up for the first time. An entire species prepared for war. The Galactic Council had demanded surrender. Humanity had refused. Now the galaxy would learn why that was a very dangerous mistake. Admiral stood on the bridge of the battleship Iron Will. Around him, officers moved with quiet purpose. Screens glowed with data from 100 different sources. Reports came in every few seconds from ships across the galaxy. The mobilization was going better than expected. In just 6 hours, humanity had activated fleets that the Council did not even know existed. Status report said. His second-in-command, a young woman named, stepped forward. All primary fleets are in position, Admiral. Secondary forces are moving to defensive points. We have confirmed that 15 hidden bases are now online. And the civilian evacuation. 70% complete on the outer colonies. Earth and the core worlds are preparing shelters. Hesitated. Sir, some colonies are refusing to evacuate. They want to stay and fight. Nodded. He understood that feeling. Running was not in human nature, but he was responsible for more than just soldiers. He was responsible for everyone. Tell them to evacuate, he said. There will be time to fight later. For now, we need to protect our people. Yes, Admiral. The main screen flickered. A familiar face appeared. Ambassador was on a transport ship racing back toward Earth. She looked tired but determined. Admiral, she said, I hope I gave you enough time. Allowed himself a small smile. You did perfectly, Ambassador. The Council was so busy arguing about your speech that they did not notice our ships moving into position. He paused. That was brave what you did. It was necessary, replied. They were never going to accept us. I saw it in their eyes. They had already decided to destroy us. The ultimatum was just an excuse. I know, had suspected this for years. The Council feared humanity too much to let them grow any stronger. War had always been coming. The only question was when. What happens now? Asked. Now we show them what humanity can do. Turned to another officer. Connect me to the diplomatic corps. It is time for Phase 2. On the other side of the galaxy, a woman named waited in a small broadcast station. She was young, barely 30 years old, but she was one of the best speakers humanity had ever produced. Her voice had convinced corporations to surrender. Her words had ended civil conflicts without a single shot. Now she would address the entire galaxy. A light on her console turned green. The connection was active. Every screen in Council space would receive her message. Billions of aliens would hear what she had to say. Took a deep breath and began. People of the galaxy, she said. My name is, I speak today on behalf of Earth and all human colonies. I speak to you not as enemies but as neighbors, as fellow travelers in this vast universe. She paused to let her words sink in. Yesterday, the Galactic Council demanded our surrender. They told us to give up our ships. They told us to accept their rule. They told us to stop being who we are. Her voice grew stronger. We refused, and today I want to tell you why. On 1,000 worlds, aliens stopped what they were doing. They gathered around screens. They listened. Humanity is a young species. We have only been among the stars for 50 years. In that time we have made mistakes. We have fought among ourselves. We have struggled to find our place in this galaxy, smiled softly. But we have also learned. We have grown. We have changed. We have seen the beauty of alien worlds. We have tasted foods from 100 different cultures. We have made friends with beings so different from us that we could barely communicate at first. Her eyes shone with emotion. The galaxy has given us so much, and all we wanted was to give something back. In the council chamber, Prelate watched the broadcast with growing anger. The human woman was speaking directly to his people. She was trying to turn them against the council. Turn it off, he ordered. We cannot, an aide replied. The transmission is using frequencies we do not control. It is everywhere. 4 hands clenched into fists. Continued her speech. The council fears us because we are different. They fear us because we grow quickly. They fear us because we do not follow their rules. She leaned closer to the camera. But fear is not a reason for war. Fear is a reason for understanding. Fear is a reason for communication. Fear is a reason to try harder to see each other clearly. We do not want to fight the council. We do not want to destroy anyone. All we want is the same thing every species wants: the chance to live, to grow, to find our own path among the stars. She stood up from her chair. So I say to the Galactic Council, we will not surrender, not because we hate you, not because we want war, but because no living being should ever have to give up their freedom to satisfy someone else's fear. And I say to the people of the galaxy, look at your own history. Remember when you were young. Remember when others feared you. Remember how it felt to be told that you had no right to exist. Humanity stands ready to defend ourselves, but we also stand ready to talk, to negotiate, to find a better way. Spread her hands. The choice is yours. We have made ours. The transmission ended. Silence spread across the galaxy. Commander turned to Prelate. That was dangerous. She was speaking to our citizens as if they were equals. They are not equals, said firmly. They are subjects, and subjects follow orders. He straightened his robes. Prepare the fleets. We attack in 48 hours. Nodded. What about the speech? What if it causes unrest? It will not, was certain. The Council had ruled for 3,000 years. No species had ever successfully them. Humans would be no different. By this time next cycle, humanity will be nothing but a memory. Their ships will be scrap metal. Their worlds will burn. And everyone will remember what happens to species who refuse to kneel. He turned away from the screen. Summon the War Council. We have much to prepare. But as he walked through the ancient halls of the council building, could not shake the feeling that something had changed. He had seen the faces of citizens watching speech. He had seen something in their eyes that he did not like. He had seen hope. Back on the Iron Will, Admiral reviewed the tactical situation. 17 council fleets were moving toward human space. Combined, they had over 3,000 warships. Humanity had less than 500. The numbers were not good, but numbers were not everything. Show me the positions, he said. A map appeared on the main screen. The great warriors of the galaxy had positioned their entire fleet at the front of the armada. They were eager for battle. They had not fought a real war in centuries. Studied the map for a long moment, then he smiled. Contact Dr. Minu, he said. Tell him we need the defense network ready in 36 hours. Looked concerned. Sir, he said it would take at least 72 hours to finish the calibrations. Tell him he has 36. Looked at the approaching fleets. The Council thinks they know what humans can do. They think they understand our technology. He shook his head slowly. They have no idea, and when they find out, it will be too late. Somewhere deep in human space, in a facility that did not officially exist, Dr. Minu received the message. He was a thin man with messy hair and glasses that were always slightly crooked. He had not slept in 3 days. He had not eaten in 12 hours. But when he read the Admiral's orders, he only grinned. 36 hours, he said to himself. The Admiral asks for miracles. He looked at the massive machines around him. Towers of metal and light stretched up toward a ceiling so high it was lost in darkness. Power cables as thick as trees connected them to reactors buried miles underground. This was Project Sunrise, 10 years of work, trillions of credits, the greatest technological achievement in human history. And in 36 hours, the galaxy would see what humanity had built. Minu cracked his knuckles and got back to work. He had a lot to do and not much time to do it. The Council fleets continued their approach. The hours counted down. Humanity waited. And in the space between the stars, something ancient and powerful began to wake up. The Council Armada was the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. 3,000 ships stretched across the darkness of space like a river of metal and fire. Battleships the size of small moons led the way. Carriers launched endless streams of fighter craft. Support vessels carried enough weapons to destroy a dozen worlds. At the front of this massive force, the war fleet pushed forward. Their ships were ugly and brutal, covered in spikes and weapons. They did not believe in elegant design. They believed in power. General stood on the bridge of his flagship. He was massive even by standards, his armored body from 100 battles. He had never lost a war. He did not plan to start now. "How long until we reach human space?" he demanded. 6 hours, General, his navigator reported. Growled with satisfaction. The humans had refused to surrender. Good. That meant there would be a fight. They had not had a real war in 300 years. His warriors were hungry for battle. "The humans will regret their defiance," he said. "We will crush their little fleet and burn their worlds. Then we will hang their leaders from the walls of the council chamber as a warning to others." His officers cheered. The fleet accelerated. Behind them, Prelate watched from his personal ship. He was not a warrior. He preferred to let others do the fighting while he managed the politics, but he wanted to see humanity fall with his own eyes. Commander stood beside him. "Our scouts report that the human fleet is holding position near their border, fewer than 500 ships." Fewer than 500 against 3,000, allowed himself a smile. "This will be over quickly." "Perhaps too quickly," said thoughtfully. "It seems strange. The humans knew we were coming. They had time to build more ships to call for reinforcements. Why did they not?" Waved his hand dismissively. "Because they could not. They are a young species with limited resources. Their brave speeches were nothing but noise. When our ships arrive, they will see the truth. They will see that they never had a chance." Said nothing, but doubt lingered in her silver eyes. On the bridge of the Iron Will, Admiral watched the approaching armada. The council fleet filled his screens. So many ships, so much firepower, enough to destroy humanity 10 times over. "They will be in range in 4 hours, reported. "Our fleet is ready, Admiral. All ships are at battle stations." Nodded slowly, and Project Sunrise. Dr. Minu reports that the network is fully operational. He says to tell you that miracles are his specialty. A small smile crossed face. "Good. Order all ships to hold position. Do not fire until I give the command." Sir looked confused. "The council fleet will be in weapons range soon. Should we not prepare for engagement?" "We are prepared," said calmly, "but we will not fire the first shot. Let them attack us. Let the galaxy see who started this war." The hours passed slowly. Human crews waited at their stations. Families on distant colonies watched the news feeds with fear in their hearts. On Earth, people gathered in public squares, looking up at the stars and wondering if they would survive the night. Ambassador had returned to Earth. She stood in the command center deep beneath the planet's surface, watching the same screens as everyone else. Beside her, Diplomat waited in silence. "Do you think it will work?" asked quietly. "It has to," replied. "We have no other choice." The council fleet crossed into human space. General roared the order to attack. Thousands of weapons powered up. Missiles launched. Energy beams sliced through the darkness. The first shots of the war screamed toward the human fleet. Then something strange happened. The missiles stopped. They did not explode. They simply stopped moving, hanging in space like frozen insects. The energy beams bent away from their targets, curving in impossible directions. Every weapon fired by the council fleet failed to reach a single human ship. Stared at his screens in disbelief. What is this? What is happening? Before anyone could answer, space itself seemed to change. Points of light appeared all around the council fleet. Not stars, something else, something artificial. The lights grew brighter. They connected to each other, forming a web of energy that surrounded the entire armada. Thousands of ships trapped inside a cage of pure light. Admiral spoke into his communicator. "Attention, Council Fleet. This is Admiral of Earth Defense Command. Your weapons have been disabled. Your ships are caught in our defense network. You cannot escape." Silence answered him. Then Prelate's voice crackled through the channel. Impossible. This technology does not exist. It cannot exist. And yet here it is, replied calmly. Prelate, humanity has spent 50 years preparing for this moment. We knew that someday someone would try to destroy us, so we built something to stop them. On his hidden facility, Dr. Minyu watched his screens with pride. Project Sunrise was working perfectly. The network used principles that no other species had discovered. It could stop any weapon, disable any ship, control any battlefield. They called us young, Minyu whispered to himself. They thought we were weak. They forgot that young species learn fast. They forgot that desperation breeds invention. He pressed a button and the network pulsed with new energy. Across the Council fleet, ships began to lose power. Lights flickered. Engines died. 3,000 warships became 3,000 pieces of floating metal. General slammed his fist against his console. Get our weapons back online, now. We cannot, General, his technician replied. They have control of everything. Our shields, our weapons, our engines. We are helpless. For the first time in his life, felt fear. He had never been helpless before. He had never faced an enemy he could not fight. Admiral continued his broadcast. We do not want to destroy you. We have the power to do so. Every ship in your fleet could be turned to ash with a single command. But that is not who we are. He paused to let his words sink in. Humanity came to the stars looking for friends. We found fear instead. You saw our growth and decided to crush us before we became a threat. You never gave us a chance to show you who we really are. On worlds across the galaxy, billions of beings watched the impossible scene. The mighty Council fleet, trapped and powerless. A human admiral offering mercy when he could have demanded blood. I am giving you that chance now, said. Return to your space. Tell your people what happened here. Tell them that humanity does not want war. We want peace. We want partnership. We want to build something better together. Prelate's voice was cold with rage. You think this changes anything. You think one battle means you have won. The Council has ruled for 3,000 years. We will not be defeated by a trick. This is not a trick, replied. This is a demonstration of what we can do and a demonstration of what we choose not to do. His voice softened. Go home, Prelate. Think about what happened here. Think about whether war is really what you want. The defense network pulsed once more. Then slowly it began to release the Council ships. Power returned to their systems. Engines came back online. The Armada was free. They could attack again. They could try to fight. But no one moved. General looked at his screens. His warriors were strong. They were brave, but they were not stupid. They had seen what human technology could do. They knew that any attack would fail. General, his second-in-command, asked, What are your orders? Was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke words he had never spoken before. Fall back. All ships fall back to Council space. The fleet began to turn. Slowly, reluctantly, the rest of the Armada followed. 3,000 ships retreated from human space without firing a single successful shot. On the bridge of the Iron Will, Admiral let out a breath he had been holding for hours. It worked, whispered. Admiral, it actually worked. This is just the beginning, said quietly. We won today, but the Council will not forget. They will find ways to counter our technology. They will build new weapons. This war is not over. He looked at the retreating fleet. But today we proved something important. We proved that humanity will not be destroyed. We proved that we can protect ourselves. He turned to his crew. And we proved that even in victory, we can choose mercy. Across the galaxy, the news spread like fire. Humanity had stopped the Council. Humanity had shown power that no one had ever seen, and instead of using that power to destroy, they had offered peace. Something was changing. Something was waking up in the hearts of species that had lived under Council rule for thousands of years. Something that felt like hope. The defeat at the border changed everything. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Galactic Council had lost a battle. Their greatest fleet had been stopped without a single human casualty. The news spread to every corner of known space, and with it spread something dangerous. Questions. On the industrial world of, workers stopped their machines and gathered in secret. They had served the Council for generations, building ships that they would never fly, weapons that they would never use. Now they whispered about the humans who had stood against the mighty armada and won. They offered peace, a young worker said. Even after everything, they offered peace. Has the Council ever done that? No one could answer. On the agricultural planet of Prime, farmers looked up from their fields and talked about what they had seen. The Council took 70% of everything they grew. Their children went hungry so that distant rulers could feast. But the humans had spoken of partnership, of sharing, of something better. Maybe there is another way, an old farmer whispered. Maybe we do not have to live like this forever. Prelate sensed the danger. He called an emergency meeting of the Council leadership. The great chamber was quieter than usual. Many platforms sat empty. Representatives who had cheered for war now found reasons to be elsewhere. We face a crisis, announced. The human victory has encouraged dangerous ideas among the common populations. Already we are seeing unrest on 17 worlds. Commander stood at his side. The situation is worse than you know, Prelate. 6 minor species have sent messages to the human government. They are asking about alternatives. Alternatives, his voice was sharp. You mean rebellion? I mean they are thinking about their futures, replied carefully. The humans showed them something they had never seen before. Power without cruelty. Victory without destruction. It is a powerful message. It is a lie, snapped. The humans are manipulating them. This is obviously part of their plan to weaken the Council. Perhaps, said, or perhaps the humans meant exactly what they said. Perhaps they truly want peace. She paused. The question is, what do we want? Stared at her. We want order. We want control. That is what the Council has always wanted. And where has that brought us? Gestured at the empty platforms. Half of our allies are hiding, our fleet is damaged, our reputation is destroyed. We demanded everything and received nothing. She shook her head. Maybe it is time to try something different. You sound like a human sympathizer, said coldly. I sound like someone who wants to survive, replied. The Council has ruled through fear for 3,000 years, but fear only works when people believe you are strong. The humans have shown that we are not as strong as we thought, so we must find a new way or we will lose everything. Turned away from her. He would not listen to such words. He had devoted his life to the Council. He would not watch it crumble because of one lost battle. Prepare another fleet, he ordered, larger than before. We will attack again, and this time we will not stop until every human is dead. Bowed her head. As you command, Prelate. But as she left the chamber, she began to make other plans. Admiral received surprising messages in the weeks following the battle. Ships from 3 different species crossed into human space, not to attack, but to talk. Their captains were nervous and uncertain. They had spent their whole lives serving the Council. Defection was terrifying. But they had seen broadcast. They had heard her words about freedom and choice, and they had decided to take a chance. Welcomed them personally. He met their ships without weapons drawn. He offered food and shelter, and something none of them had ever experienced from a stronger power. He offered respect. Why are you helping us? A captain asked. Her name was, and she had served commander for 30 years. We were your enemies. We would have destroyed you if we could. You were following orders, replied. That does not make you evil. It makes you someone who never had another choice. He smiled gently. Now you have a choice. That is all we want to give anyone. Stared at him. The Council will call us traitors. They will hunt us forever. Then stay with us. Build a new life. Help us create something worth protecting. spread his hands. "We are not asking you to fight your own people. We are asking you to believe that there can be a better way." The defectors stayed. Word spread of how they were treated. More ships came. More species sent secret messages. The trickle became a stream. On Earth, Diplomat prepared for another broadcast. This time, Ambassador stood beside her. They had worked together on the message for days. They knew that words could be more powerful than weapons. They knew that ideas could tear down empires. Faced the camera and began to speak. "People of the galaxy, I speak to you again, not as an enemy, not as a conqueror, but as a voice for all those who have been silenced for too long." On countless worlds, beings stopped what they were doing to listen. The Council has ruled for 3,000 years. In that time, they have done many things. They have built great cities. They have connected distant stars. They have created wonders that we can barely imagine. She paused. But they have also done terrible things. They have crushed anyone who questioned them. They have taken the wealth of 1,000 planets for themselves. They have told you that this is the only way, that there is no alternative, that you should be grateful for what little they allow you to have. Her voice grew stronger. "They are wrong. There is always an alternative. There is always a choice. And today I want to tell you about a different way. Humanity believes that every being has value. Every species has something to offer. Every voice deserves to be heard. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We do not want tribute or submission. We want partnership. We want friendship. We want to build something together that none of us could build alone." On the planet, the workers gathered in their thousands to watch. On Prime, the farmers put down their tools and listened. Across the galaxy, billions of beings heard words they had never heard before. "If you are tired of fear, come to us. If you are tired of taking orders, come to us. If you want something better for your children, come to us." Spread her arms wide. "We will not turn anyone away. We will not ask where you came from. We will only ask what you dream of and how we can help you achieve it." The Council offers you chains disguised as protection. Humanity offers you freedom. Real freedom. The freedom to choose your own path, to live your own life, to be whoever you want to be. She looked directly into the camera. "The choice is yours. It has always been yours. The Council just made you forget." The broadcast ended. Silence fell across the galaxy. Then the silence broke. On the workers marched out of their factories. They did not carry weapons. They carried signs. Signs that said, "We choose freedom." Signs that said, "Humanity showed us the way." Signs that said, "No more chains." On Prime, the farmers stopped working. They told the Council collectors that there would be no more tribute. Not today. Not ever again. On a dozen other worlds, similar scenes played out. Species that had never spoken against the Council found their voices. People who had never questioned anything began to ask, "Why? Why does it have to be this way?" In the Council chamber, Prelate watched the chaos spreading across his empire. His 4 hands shook with rage. "Send troops," he ordered. "Arrest the troublemakers, restore order." But his commanders hesitated. Many of their soldiers had families on those rebelling worlds. Many had watched broadcast themselves. Many were asking the same questions. "Prelate," an aide said nervously, "we are receiving reports that 3 star systems have declared independence. They are asking for human protection." His purple skin turned dark with fury. "Then we destroy them. We burn every rebel world until the others remember their place." "If we do that," Commander said quietly, "we will prove everything the humans said about us. We will show the galaxy that we rule through terror, not through right." She stepped closer to the prelate. "And we will guarantee that every species will eventually rise against us." Whirled to face her. "What would you have me do? Surrender? Beg the humans for peace?" "I would have you listen," replied. "The galaxy is changing. It has been changing since the humans arrived. We can fight that change and die, or we can adapt and survive." For a long moment the prelate said nothing. His whole life had been built on certainty. The council was right. The council was powerful. The council would last forever. Now that certainty was crumbling, and he did not know what to build in its place. Far away, on the bridge of the Iron Will, Admiral received reports of the rebellions. He felt no joy. Rebellion meant suffering. It meant ordinary people risking everything for a chance at freedom. "Should we send ships to help them?" asked. "Not yet," said slowly. "If we do, the council will say we are invaders, that we started this, that the rebellions are our fault." He shook his head. "Let the people fight for themselves. Let them prove that they want freedom. Then when they ask for help, we will be there. And if the council crushes them before they can ask." Was silent for a moment. "Then we will make sure the council pays a price they cannot afford." He looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, millions of beings were standing up for the first time in their lives. They were terrified. They were uncertain, but they were standing. And that new was how galaxies changed. 3 months had passed since the first rebellion. In that time, the galaxy had transformed beyond recognition. 14 species had declared independence from the council. Hundreds of worlds now flew their own flags. Trade routes that had been controlled for thousands of years were suddenly open to everyone. A galaxy that had been frozen in fear was finally beginning to breathe. The council was not destroyed. It still existed, but it was smaller now, weaker. The species that remained were those who truly believed in the old ways or those too afraid to leave. Prelate had disappeared. Some said he had fled to a hidden world. Others said he had taken his own life rather than watch his empire crumble. No one knew for certain, and few cared enough to find out. Commander had taken control of what remained. She was not liked by the other council members, but she was respected. More importantly, she was willing to talk. And so, on a cool morning in the council chamber, a human delegation arrived for the first time since the ultimatum. Ambassador walked through the great doors with her head held high. Beside her came Admiral, Diplomat, and Dr. Minu. Behind them walked representatives from a dozen freed species, beings who had once been council subjects and were now allies of humanity. The chamber was quieter than before. Fewer platforms floated in the shadows. Fewer eyes watched from the darkness. But the weight of history still hung in the air. This room had witnessed the rise and fall of empires. It would witness whatever came next. Stood alone in the center of the chamber. She wore simple robes instead of her military uniform. Her silver eyes studied as the human approached. Ambassador said, "Welcome back to the council chamber." Commander stopped a few feet away. "I understand you wish to speak with us." "I did." His voice was calm but carried an edge of exhaustion. "The council requests a formal end to hostilities. We propose a treaty that would establish permanent peace between our remaining territories and human space." Peace? Let the word hang in the air. 3 months ago you wanted to exterminate us. Now you want peace. 3 months ago we were fools, did not look away. We thought we could destroy you. We thought fear was enough to control the galaxy. We were wrong about many things. Admiral stepped forward. "What exactly are you proposing?" Gestured to a screen that flickered to life above them. A map of the galaxy appeared, showing the new borders that had formed during the rebellions. "The Council will recognize all independent species as sovereign governments. We will release all claims to their territories. We will not attempt to reclaim them by force." She pointed to a region near human space. "We also propose the creation of a neutral zone between our territories, a place where any species can travel freely, a place for trade and diplomacy." "That is a significant offer," said carefully, "but it is also convenient. You are only giving up what you have already lost." "True," nodded slowly, "but I am also offering something we have never offered before, admission of guilt, recognition that we were wrong." Her voice softened. The Council treated younger species as threats to be controlled. We saw your growth and responded with fear. We gave you no chance to prove yourselves." She turned to face the other beings in the delegation, former Council subjects who had fled to humanity, species that had been oppressed for generations. "We did the same to all of you. We took your resources. We silenced your voices. We told you that you had no value except to serve us," bowed her head. "I cannot undo what was done, but I can apologize, and I can try to build something better." The chamber was silent. No one had ever heard a council leader apologize for anything. Exchanged glances with her companions. They had prepared for many possibilities, demands, threats, even another attack. They had not prepared for genuine remorse. "Commander," said slowly, "humanity did not come to the stars to conquer. We came to explore, to learn, to find our place among the other species of the galaxy." She paused. "We also did not come to destroy the Council. We came to survive." "You have done more than survive," replied. "You have changed everything." "Perhaps," stepped closer to the commander, "but change means nothing if it does not lead somewhere good. The galaxy has suffered enough. There has been enough fear, enough control, enough small minds deciding the fates of billions." She looked up at the empty platforms, the shadows where thousands had once watched. "Humanity has a different proposal. We do not want a treaty that maintains borders and keeps everyone separate. We want something more." Raised an eyebrow. "What do you want?" "An alliance," spoke the word clearly. "Not the old council alliance of masters and servants. A true partnership, all species equal, all voices heard, decisions made together, not imposed from above." "That is impossible," said automatically. "The logistics alone would be overwhelming. How would disputes be resolved? How would resources be shared? How would anyone agree on anything?" "We would figure it out," smiled. "That is what partnership means. Working through problems together, making mistakes and learning from them, building something that has never existed before." "And what would you call this alliance?" "We have a suggestion," stepped forward with a small device in her hand. She pressed a button and new words appeared on the screen above them. "The Galactic Alliance of Free Species." "Every member would be free to govern themselves," explained. "No tribute, no forced labor, no orders from distant rulers, but also no isolation, trade agreements, mutual defense, shared knowledge and technology, the strength of unity without the chains of empire." Dr. Minu cleared his throat. "We would also share some of our technology, not the weapons, but the things that help people, medical advances, agricultural systems, energy solutions." He pushed his crooked glasses up his nose. "We have learned a lot in 50 years. We would like to share it." Studied the proposal on the screen. Her silver eyes moved across the words again and again. "You could demand so much more," she said finally. "You defeated our fleet. You inspired rebellions across the galaxy. You could make us kneel, force us to accept any terms you wished." "We could," Admiral agreed. "But what would that make us? Just another empire, just another group of rulers who think power gives them the right to control others." He shook his head. "Humanity has made that mistake before. We destroyed ourselves with wars and greed. We almost went extinct before we reached the stars. We learned something from that," added. "We learned that the only way to truly win is to build something that lasts, something that does not require constant force to maintain, something that people choose to be part of because it makes their lives better." She extended her hand too. "Join us, not as subjects, not as defeated enemies, as partners. Help us build an alliance that will last longer than any empire ever has." Looked at the extended hand, such a simple human gesture, such enormous meaning. Behind her, the remaining council members watched in silence. Some were horrified, some were relieved, some were already calculating how they could benefit from this new arrangement. But was thinking about something else. She was thinking about her grandmother, who had lived under council rule her entire life. She was thinking about her children, who would grow up in whatever galaxy emerged from this moment. She was thinking about what kind of galaxy she wanted them to inherit. Reached out and took's hand. "They will join your alliance," she said, "and I will speak to the other council members. Some will refuse, but many, I think, are tired of fear, tired of fighting, tired of pretending that the old ways still work." Squeezed her hand. "Then let us show them a better way." 1 year later, the first session of the Galactic Alliance of Free Species met on a space station built between the stars. Representatives from 47 different species gathered in a chamber designed by humans, built by engineers, decorated by artists. Ambassador stood at the podium. She was older now. There was gray in her hair and new lines around her eyes, but her voice was as strong as ever. "1 year ago, we stood on the edge of war. 1 year ago, we had every reason to destroy each other." She looked out at the gathered representatives, former enemies sitting beside former subjects, species that had never spoken now sharing tables and meals. "Instead, we chose something different. We chose hope." In the audience, Admiral sat beside Dr. Minu. The Admiral had retired from military service. He spent his days teaching young officers about strategy and honor. Minu had won 17 awards for his work on peaceful applications of human technology. Diplomat sat with a group of young diplomats from a dozen different species. She was training them in the art of communication, teaching them that words could change worlds more surely than weapons. Commander had become one of the Alliance's most respected voices. She worked tirelessly to help former council members adjust to their new reality. She understood, better than anyone, how hard it was to let go of the past. "The Galactic Alliance is not perfect," continued. "We have disagreements, we make mistakes, we sometimes say things we regret and do things we wish we had not done." She smiled. "That is what it means to be alive. That is what it means to be free. But we face our problems together. We talk instead of fight. We build instead of destroy. And slowly, step by step, we are creating something that the galaxy has never seen." She raised her hand, and a hologram appeared above the chamber. It showed the Alliance flag, a circle of stars around a central light, representing all the species working together toward a common goal. "This is what humanity came to the stars to find, not conquest, not power, not control over others." His voice filled the chamber. "We came looking for family, and in the end, against all odds, we found it. Today, I declare the first year of the Galactic Alliance complete. May there be many more." The chamber erupted in applause. Species that had hated each other for generations stood together and cheered. Ancient enemies embraced. Young beings who had grown up hearing stories of war now saw something else. They saw the beginning. Outside the station, the stars stretched endlessly into the darkness. Somewhere among them, human children played on alien worlds. Alien children learned human languages. Ships from 100 species traveled roads that connected all of them. The galaxy was changing. It would continue to change. There would be more problems, more challenges, more moments when everything seemed about to fall apart. But there would also be more moments like this one. Moments of connection, moments of hope, moments when beings from across the stars remembered that they were not alone. Ambassador had laughed in the face of an ultimatum. Humanity had refused to surrender, and in doing so, they had given the galaxy its greatest gift. Not technology, not power, not victory. Just the simple, profound truth that there was always another way. Always a choice. Always hope.